Hello and welcome to the big picture. In the last couple of months, the violations of ceasefire on the Indo-Pakistan border in Jammu and Kashmir has escalated. The worst happened in the last 48 hours with 9 people killed on either side and several injured. The firing which has continued has unfortunately targeted even villages, with all the casualties being civilians, including women and children. While both sides are blaming each other for what each call unprovoked firing, the DGMO meet has also not been able to find a solution. Meanwhile, America is calling for talks between the two sides. It may be recalled that Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif had brought up the issue at the UN General Assembly last month, to no avail. What has been the reason for the present round of escalation of ceasefire violations? Why has it assumed such dimensions now? Where does the solutions lie? We will discuss all this today with Vivek Katju, former ambassador, Major General retired Ashok Mehta, defense analyst, Rana Banerjee, security analyst and former special secretary at the Cabinet Secretariat, Vinod Sharma, political editor at Hindustan Times, and on the phone line from Islamabad is Mosharraf Zaidi, senior journalist and analyst. Welcome to all of you. Zaidi, I would like to come to you first. Zaidi, the question is that, there has been this last 48 hours, there has been repeated firing from across the border. Why is this happening? How does Pakistan look at it? You people are blaming us, we are blaming you. And these problems continue. The poor civilians on the border seem to be suffering.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible thing that's happening, and it's especially at the time of Eid, where at least 500 million people, between India and Pakistan, are celebrating an auspicious day. It's very, very unfortunate. I think Pakistanis, like Indians, Pakistanis share a sense of frustration and sadness at the fact that this is happening. And again, I'm really keen that this not sort of evolve or devolve into a blame game and a back and forth between Indians and Pakistanis, which unfortunately it seems to do on the border and on television and on the media as well. I mean, I think it's safe to say that nobody in Pakistan, nobody in India thinks that civilians losing their lives is in any way a legitimate expression of whatever aspirations either country has. And at least for Pakistan's part, it's completely irrational for Pakistan to be engaging in this kind of thing because we have so many of our own issues right now.
Absolutely.
It makes very little sense for us to be trying to goad, what many of us believe is a sleeping giant in the form of India into a fight that has no positive outcome for either country. I mean, nothing good is going to come out of any escalation between our two countries, so it makes no sense.
Zaidi, you think that the government has no control over what's happening in your government there?
No, I think the government has as much control as it would have at any other time. I think obviously there has been political instability in Islamabad, but I don't think it's affected the command and control systems that are available to Pakistan. So I'm not sure that's a major factor in whether or not things are happening and the way that they're happening. I think the view in Islamabad is that this is there's been a different line from India ever since Prime Minister Modi took charge. And that's not an allegation. It's simply borne out by some of the facts, the calling off of the talks and, the kind of hard line that Modi has taken. So, there's a lot of speculation in Pakistan as to whether this isn't part of, testing, the relationship or whatever. But that's an easy trap to fall into because I'm sure many of my Indian friends would say exactly the same thing, that this is actually Pakistan testing the waters and testing Modi. So without getting into that, I think it's a terrible thing that's happening, and I don't think it should be happening.
Okay, new government coming in. One of the things being said that new government coming in, that's what testing waters. Is this what it's all about? Is this testing of waters from both sides? What is this?
I think what I noted was Mr. Zaidi saying very eloquently that it doesn't make sense for Pakistan to provoke India.
Sleeping giant, if you ask me, that's the word he used.
At this time. Now, if rationality and logic was the guiding forces for Pakistani action, then it would be one thing. But the past has demonstrated to us that rationality and logic have not always been the primary motivating factors for Pakistani action, especially the action of the Pakistani army vis-a-vis us. The year 1999 bears eloquent testimony to that fact. There was simply no logic, no strategic rationality to the action which happened at Kargil. So let's leave rationality and logic apart. I have long felt that Mr. Modi is being tested by the Pakistan army. And the factors which lead me to that inference is, first of all, the attack on the consulate in Herat. Clearly, that was a manifestation of that instinct.
You are saying by the Pakistan army, not the government.
Look, as far as India is concerned, I have long held the view that it is the army that makes decisions. Pakistan's India policy is controlled by the army, and I don't see a change in that at this time. And frankly, I don't see a change in that in the foreseeable future, because I can't see at the moment that the army will relinquish its hold over this aspect of its security policy.
Okay, so you're saying that the Pakistan army is testing Modi.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
General, would you agree with that?
Well, I'm not sure whether the Pakistan army is testing Modi. The fact is that this is nothing new. What is new is that in the past, we would be in these studios discussing a terrorist attack. Now, because of certain American pressures on the Pakistan military, you see that there are no major terrorist attacks or smaller terrorist attacks. So where else does the Pakistan army go? So it uses the ceasefire line. You know, for somebody who spent a pretty long time on the ceasefire line in practically all the sectors, I'm in a position to say that it is in the interest of the Pakistan army at any time, any season, to keep the line of control active, alert, and hot. And that is precisely the reason what the Pakistan army does. This actually meshes with what you see happening in Pakistan in the last 2 or 3 years.
General Mehta, sorry, General Mehta, sorry to interrupt. You know, this is not just happening on the line of control. This is happening even in the international border. This time there seems to be some problem.
Happening in the hinterland. The shelling is
exactly. Shelling is happening in the hinterland.
The point is that if this meshes in with what the Pakistan government in the last 2 or 3 years has done, raked up the issue of Jammu and Kashmir at international fora. If you recall, during Pervez Mosharraf's tenure, there was an acceptable moratorium on the non-raising of the Kashmir issue on international fora. Now, when you raise this issue of Kashmir, you have to keep the line of control. The international border, by the way, is the working boundary. And the working boundary, what we call, Pakistan calls the working boundary, is something that they want to legitimize. And so this firing, in my view, is not so much testing Modi, because we all know that there are some limits of use of military force, and those limits need not be tested in this way. What needs to be done by the Pakistan army is precisely what they are doing. That is, to keep the line of control, the working boundary, parts of the international border alive and alert,
Okay.
so that the issue of Jammu and Kashmir is right there. One other reason, and very briefly, that is south of the Pir Panjal. This is where most of the ceasefire violations are taking place. This is the area where infiltration takes place after the passes have closed north of the Pir Panjal. South of the Pir Panjal is the area where infiltration will take place in this season.
Okay.
And it is
So you're
to
saying-
aid the infiltration that you see this tamasha on the line of control.
So, I mean, Mr. Banerjee is trying to say that, it's also one of the reasons why this is happening is to facilitate infiltration. Is that the way you would look at it?
Well, in the past, that has been the pattern, the covering fire from the Pakistani army in violation
very
of ceasefire.
serious.
Yeah, but
earlier was just, they were firing at just to distract attention, but here people are getting killed.
Yeah, this would seem to be something beyond that, because firstly...
No, and people are getting killed on both sides.
Civilians, yes.
On both sides.
And of course, the allegation on the Pakistan side is that there have been equally aggressive, actions on affecting their side, the Charwa sector, Dharmala, Tulsipur villages.
Right.
So I think these, macho positions on either side are not going to get us anywhere. But the point is, you see, what the general said also, that in the past, whenever India has ignored Pakistan diplomatically, there have been two options that have been used by the Pakistan army. One has been to go to the asymmetric actors, like the Lashkar and others, to, ratchet up actions inside India. Now, they haven't gone that far as yet. The other has been to try to keep the, internationally the issue of Kashmir alive. And all this comes in the context of the likelihood of elections sometime soon in Jammu and Kashmir, though the floods there will possibly require that the election itself will be deferred by about 3 or 4 months from November or January even. So, to keep the issue active internationally, to indicate that, India is being unduly, hardline, and to try to gain the high moral ground. This is one of the reasons why Pakistan may be doing this.
Vinod, these macho positions, as Banerjee puts it, is this, what? Yes. How do you look at this?
Well, I think that the Pakistan army is testing the Prime Minister of India.
You agree with Katju on this?
They are testing because of the nature of the political discourse in the run-up to the Lok Sabha elections. And also statements by prominent government functionaries consequent to the first attack, which was perhaps the handiwork of Pakistan in the Jammu side. It suits Pakistan to show Kashmir as a potential nuclear flashpoint to the international community. If you remember, when in
that's a very dangerous game.
When in 1998 we tested our bombs at Pokhran, there was a statement by the then Home Minister that Pakistan should now come to terms with the changing geopolitical realities of the region and reconcile on the Kashmir question, which unfortunately was a vindication of what Moin Qureshi told the Americans when the Pakistanis were under pressure to roll back their nuclear program. So it does two things. One, it elevates Kashmir as a dispute almost equal to the possibility of a nuclear war, and two, legitimizes the Pakistani possession. And Pakistan is a dangerous state to have nuclear bombs. It legitimizes that from one standpoint. I personally feel that the Indian response through it should not be white bullets. Yet, of course, our army and our troops have to respond and respond aggressively because, civilians, why are civilians being targeted?
Exactly.
In order to create a popular opinion, a public outrage in India of the kind that was witnessed during the Kandahar hijack, and certain wrong decisions got taken. I think that this issue needs to be tackled with, with a lot of wisdom, a lot of discretion than valor, while political leaders would make certain comments, certain statements. But I think that the PM himself and the defense minister and the external affairs minister have a greater responsibility here to temporize the discourse, you know.
In fact, it's very interesting.
And if we were discussing and we were having some degree of communication between our two countries, it was a legitimate case of the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, picking up the phone and getting on the line with their Prime Minister. And if nothing happened after that, making our agenda of peace on LOC as an international issue. And, you know, we try to bring pressure to bear upon Pakistanis. You know.
Yes, Mr. Katju.
Look,
would you agree with Vinod Sharma on this, that, you know, at the Prime Minister's level, this could be sorted out?
Look, my belief is, and I entirely agree with Vinod, that this matter has to be handled in a sober and mature fashion.
It's very interesting, sorry. Pakistan spokesperson has made a statement asking India to, you know, show restraint.
What else will spokespeople say? Let's keep that aside. So it has to be handled soberly and in a mature fashion. I have not noticed any rhetoric coming from the Prime Minister vis-a-vis these incidents.
You're talking of the Indian Prime Minister?
Our Prime Minister. Now, having said that, I also believe that there is no appetite in the international community for focusing on Kashmir in a consistent manner. So there is the danger of Pakistan succeeding in internationalizing Kashmir is very low at this moment, notwithstanding the appeals from the US State Department for dialogue. That is routine and it doesn't really matter very much.
And we saw the UN General Assembly's speech that didn't get the kind of
yes, it doesn't get that traction. Lastly, I don't think we should do anything to internationalize Kashmir.
How would that happen? How would you think that will happen?
That is what I thought Vinod was suggesting, that our Prime Minister can take, or the government of India can...
One second, Vinod, let him finish.
No, unless I misunderstood you, in which case, please.
Please.
No, I just said that, you know, if we were having a dialogue, then there was a possibility of our Prime Minister getting on the line, on the hotline or whatever line, with their Prime Minister. And even despite that, you know, very strong appeal, a very positive gesture of our Prime Minister, two elected governments engaging on this very difficult issue. If Pakistan did not do anything, even after that, then there was a strong possibility of India getting the international opinion more strongly on its side. And
would that would internationalize the issue?
No. Well, for one, I think the Pakistan Prime Minister is not in control of his army. Therefore, the chances of him succeeding vis-a-vis the army to control the army's actions are limited.
Let us get
so
Zaidi.
That itself is extremely
Let us get Zaidi
limited.
on this. Zaidi, what is the Pakistan? Okay, the media, the media in Pakistan, the rational media in Pakistan, who sees this kind of violations and problems happening on the border as something which should not be happening. You think that, what Vinod suggests, that the two prime ministers should talk to each other instead of allowing this to escalate further? Is that a possibility at all?
I mean, I couldn't agree more with Vinod, and I think that just to address this point that my dear friend Vivek Katju has made, and he makes frequently, that the civilians don't have control over the military.
Right.
Look, without getting into that argument, let's consider for a second what this civilian prime minister attempted to do and how much support he got from India, and particularly from Narendra Modi, the prime minister of India. So this prime minister comes in, and one of the platforms of his electoral sort of campaign is normalization in a big way with India that will lead to a transformed economy, especially on the border provinces and states. So in your case, it would be Rajasthan and the Punjab, and ideally Kashmir, whatever you want. You can call ours occupied, we can call yours occupied, we can keep going around in a circle, but essentially dramatically improved economics on the border, and a generally positive impact on the economy as a whole, a generally positive impact on all of SAARC. In fact, if Pakistan and India started trading substantially more, it would actually boost the entire region's economy. It would give the other smaller countries much more confidence as they dealt with both countries, knowing that both countries have a stake in each other's economies. So all of that was essential to the Prime Minister's re-election. What happens after he comes in? Well, the starting point is quite good because, Mr. Sharma, who was the trade minister for Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, worked closely with our minister. We actually upgraded our minister from a state minister to a federal minister so that he could engage directly with Anand Sharma, who was your federal minister at the time. Then Modi ji comes in. There's a lot of warmth and goodwill around his election. The invitation that he sent to the SAARC leaders was brilliant. And it was, in my view, and you could agree or disagree with it, was even more brilliant that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif went ahead and accepted it and came. Not only did he come to India, he did two very big things, which he never got any acknowledgement for. And this is again going to the point Katju Saab has made about, civilian versus military. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif bucked a trend and a tradition that has been ongoing for a long time of meeting the Hurriyat leaders. There was a request by the Prime Minister of India, and acceding to that request, he did not meet the leaders of the Hurriyat. In addition to that, he...
No, but Zaidi, sorry, we are running short of time. My question is that, that was fine, that, Nawaz Sharif showed that grace by not meeting the Hurriyat leaders when he came here. But later what happened, which resulted in the talks, or the foreign secretary level talks being cancelled, don't you think that was some kind of a provocation which could have been avoided?
Look, I don't blame you for framing it in that way from the Indian perspective. Let me frame it from how I saw it and how a lot of Pakistanis, and these are reasonable pro-trade, pro-normalization, pro-peace Pakistanis, how they saw that cancellation of the talks, okay? The way it was seen over here, unfortunately, was that this was Prime Minister Modi essentially reframing the narrative of the relationship where India was essentially going to dictate the terms, and one of the terms was, you can't talk to these separatists anymore. That's the new way of doing business. And if you want to talk to us, it'll be on these terms. Now, for a lot of Pakistanis, even very strongly the people who are seen as pro-India, of course, primarily pro-Pakistanis, but people who want normalization with India, for a lot of us, this is in a sense, it's a betrayal because Indians know,
okay.
I mean, intelligent people, all your panelists know that if you make us seem like a lower riparian power with no leverage whatsoever, then the hardliners in our country are going to eventually get the upper hand.
Okay.
So, that's where we are today.
I mean, we got a sense of it. Mr. Banerjee, would you agree with that? That he's saying that we need to give a hand to them, not to allow the hardliners to get an upper hand there.
Well, that has been the line which some sections of the Pakistani intelligentsia have been saying that, India as the big brother should make more concessions. I wouldn't entirely agree with that, but we have to understand the complexities that govern the relationship. So, at all times, if the perception grows that it is at India's dictates that all the things are happening, then there is going to be, what Mosharraf Zaidi says, there is going to be a reaction to that. And Pakistanis would like to be treated on an equality or at par basis. So it would go against the grain of that perception.
Okay, Mr. Katju, quickly.
My point on this is very simple. No country allows separatists to meet. Now, unilaterally, we were allowing that for 20 years. It became a kind of a habit.
So it has been reframed. You agree with Zaidi that it has been reframed now? The relationship has been reframed.
It's not the relationship being reframed. The normal processes of dialogue between two sovereign states need to operate. India indicated that, look, we don't want this anymore. You're meeting with the Hurriyat. We want normal processes to operate, and that should, therefore, what was wrong with that?
One second. Okay, yes, General, very quickly.
That problem has been resolved to the extent that the National Security Advisor of Pakistan, Sartaj Aziz, has admitted that the timing was wrong.
Right.
You wait for the SAARC summit.
Okay.
In November, you will get an announcement of the resumption of the dialogue.
Absolutely.
Dialogue
no,
will
but
resume.
General, that's not the issue today. Is how do you think this confrontation which is happening on the border can end? Pakistan is supposed to have gone to the UN military group.
The Pakistanis have achieved their objective.
They have achieved.
They have achieved their objective.
So you think that
therefore this thing will peter out.
So it will peter out.
So it's not a fatigue cycle. This fatigue cycle, you will see, will play out in the next couple of days. The DGMOs might meet or might not meet.
They met today, but nothing happened.
Flag meetings will take place, and this will come to an end.
Okay, Vinod, very quickly.
I think that, I think we should resume the dialogue sooner than later, whichever way we want to do it.
Okay.
But personally speaking,
we don't have
the
time,
paradigm shifts that India wants may not be that easy to achieve.
Okay, I think on that note, we need to end. We have completely run out of time. We'll wait and watch. Let us hope that what General Mehta says, that this is. It's just a matter of time before it de-escalates, because Pakistan seems to have made its point. But which is a very sad point which has been made on both, people getting killed on both sides. Thanks to all my guests, General Ashok Mehta, Mosharraf Zaidi, who joined us from Islamabad, Vivek, Katju, Rana, Banerjee and Vinod, Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, Big Picture, same time tomorrow.